We'll just get started. So this is the ABC Huddle for November 9th, 2022, my mother's wonderful birthday. And oh, there's Letty. Okay. And so I just wanted to go over a couple of quick things. I know I don't foresee a lot of proofing yet coming from the McMinnville meetings. I just want to let Letty get on here for a quick second. I just met with their staff today. And so, hi, Letty, can you hear us all right?
There she is.
There
Hi,
she
Letty.
is. All right.
Yep.
Super. Okay. Just a quick minute. I just got off the Zooms with McMinnville staff, liking what we did, but I just wanted to share one quick thing, and I hope this will help everybody that's doing, for future purposes, the McMinnville meetings. So let me just share this quick. So overall, they're loving what we did. I sent them 2 meetings. One was the June 15th and the other was the August 31st landscape review committees. And so for the purposes of the team, these are all of the meetings for McMinnville are advisory committees. Only the HLC, the Historic Landmarks Committee, is an actual legislative body. So their requirements for the HLC is a little more Robert's Rules of Orders. We want to have the call to order time and the adjournment time on those meetings only. Otherwise, we can do, and of course I grabbed the wrong one, but the call to order was simply, I called the meeting to order. There wasn't a time noted, but for HLC, we'll want to do that. Also on all meetings, we want to have more formal motions. So I think even in their examples that they sent us, I'm suspecting they had different people doing their minutes, but from ABC standpoint, we're going to do more formal, like Commissioner so-and-so moved to approve the October 20, November 4, November 17th meetings as presented. So-and-so seconded the motion passed 4-0 or 5-0 or whatever. They want a vote count as well. So form a motion with a vote count every single time, even if it's unanimous. And they know that we are not familiar with voices. We're barely figuring out who's absent and present at this time, since these are our first meetings. But we just want to do like we normally do, unknown or commissioner in blue with a timestamp, and then unknown commissioner, whatever, in blue with a timestamp seconded the motion. So those were the 2 clarifications on McMinnville for as we do it. And these are, again, because they are a advisory committee, we can do pretty verbatim. The only caution I would have is thinking about how vague our summarization is. So in this example here at the top, they were talking about the planner just provided information about the building permit review process, and she went on for a little bit about that and ups and downs with the city. And then she provided details about the applicant's request and the zoning. The key thing was the applicant requested a waiver. So a waiver is when they have their development package. We want to do everything the city says, except for we want an exception to something in there. And that's important to get on the record. It could simply be a couple of a little phrase, maybe details about the applicant's request, including the waiver to paint all the sidewalks blue, whatever, right? Just has to be just a note that they're requesting a waiver. Another thing is, in this example, this Thord Kildson, I'm not sure how that was pronounced, but he answered questions from the committee about, and members doesn't need to be in there, but about how many parking spaces he needed and how traffic would flow from the parking lot. That does get to what the questions were about, but because he's answering questions, let's flip that switch and go. He answered questions from the committee and noted he required 8 parking spots and that traffic would flow from a driveway on First Street around the building, and the exit would be on Smith Avenue, whatever. It's still summarized. We're not getting the whole kit and caboodle of the conversation, but we do need some of those, I kind of like milestones of the conversation. So it's an anchor, maybe that's a better word. It's an anchor for the reader of what in the heck they're talking about, right? They know that they were on this Lafayette Avenue, but that really helps the reader, especially if you're a citizen of that community, to know, like, how is traffic going to flow? There's nothing but one ways in that part of town, whatever. I hope that helps a little bit. Otherwise, they're very happy. They're excited that we are finally getting things rocking and rolling with their minutes. And so I just wanted to touch base on that, just to inform and update on how my call went with them today. They also had, and I'll probably attach it to the main template card, but for some reason, and I don't know if any of you on the meeting today are familiar with this, but they said that when they received the minutes on their end, that the header was like still in, how do I want to say, like a template mode, like insert page number here, insert date there, rather than it actually, as it shows on they did not see this whatsoever. So, and I don't know if that's a difference. Likely it's a difference in word compatibility. I know I use Office 365. They kept saying, well, we have the newest version. Well, that could mean a lot of things. So it's hard to say what version they really had. The other thing they said was the title, because I sent this as a draft for them because it was our first one and we knew we were going to talk about it. But they said that in the title where I had draft was black, and they were going to send me a PDF basically of everything that was on there. So we can maybe get that ironed out. But if anyone is familiar with how that works or how to fix it, completely open, just mark it on the Trello card on the template. And I think that will help inform anybody that's picking up these meetings. And then one last thing on McMinnville, they have, they're really good. The Dropbox, if you haven't already been in there, it has all the meetings just listed by folder, and each folder is an agenda item. An outline for the transcriptionist, but I know in this meeting, it was basically, they just copy and pasted the agenda. There was not much to go on. Some of them actually notate the member's absence, the staff, they get a little more detail in that. But there's also the packet in there. So I was kind of doing some research on this one, and they, because they include the packet always includes the previous meetings. Always includes the minutes that are being approved for that meeting. And in this case, there were 3 of them. So just by scrolling down a little bit, I could see who all the members were. And then you can put in, I didn't hear, maybe it's John Smith wasn't heard, or you can kind of deduce the staff that may or may not be present. You can deduce who all the members are, because those previous minutes that we did not do, that are already in the kitty, they'll note all of those members, so we know who the full board is. And then it's just, process of elimination as far as who's absent or present. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one question.
You bet.
I've done one of these, and during the minutes, there were no motions made. They're very informal, and the chair would just say, does anyone have any problems with the minutes? No, we'll consider them approved, and they move on.
Okay.
So do you just want me to mark in blue that no motion, no vote, or?
That's perfect. Yeah, because in fact, I was on with the community development director, and she was just like, they're supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to be doing stuff. So it's a good reminder that, yeah, they're not following, even the basic Robert's Rules of Order. So absolutely, when that happens, just put it in blue. And then, oh, thank you. Because the other thing that they recommended was that they appreciated that we do things in blue with a timestamp if we unknown speaker, inaudible, all that stuff. But they also requested that we physically highlight it also in yellow. So any indication is going to look like that for the city of McMinnville. Just I think it's
They-
something that they did with her current transcriptionist, but
They want all the timestamps highlighted in yellow?
no, I'm sorry. Just not the timestamps for ABC, only the timestamps we would send on to client, like
Okay.
inaudibles, unknown speakers. I can't understand what this
Okay.
makes no sense, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
These I will just take out like I always do going to client. And I always appreciate those because it's nice to be able to have those milestones in the minutes about, where we're at and how long something goes on. So good question. Anything else on McMinnville?
I just have a question. Is this posted somewhere? Letty's copy this one, because that's the first one that's been done, to have sort of a draft or something to follow, some kind of I've looked at them the other day, but
Yeah, we'll have those
I'm sorry.
available. I just wanted to, because I literally met with the city today, we'll polish them up and have a final to put on the template so people can have that as a reference. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
So don't use what's on there now.
Well, I think, yes, I will post one of the, meetings that Letty has submitted as far as an example on the Trello
Yeah.
card, but each folder for McMinnville also includes like a sample minutes or the agenda.
Okay.
So you have, because not everything is covered in every single meeting, some are work sessions, some are very controversial, some are,
Yeah.
call to order, nothing to talk about, and they're done. It's hard to get one perfect set of minutes that covers everything. That's just not quite, Kate, it's just not always possible. So there's a couple of different ways to reference that, but good question. I will post the one that we've got, a couple that we've got.
Yeah, that would be good for me anyway.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, great. All right. The other thing I was gonna touch base on, and I know, I don't know, Letty, we're pushing towards, everybody's got a deadline at the top of the hour. So I'm rapid firing today. We're getting this done on. I wanted to.
I'm waiting for a hurricane here, so, it's
Yeah.
it's all right. Another one, Letty. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, we were able to have a little snippet of a tornado when we were down in Texas. It was quite exciting.
Oh.
I'll pass.
Well,
Very
it
scary.
wasn't even close to what you guys go through now. It was fun. My son just laughs at it. He's like, there's no hurricanes coming through here. It's fine. It's fine. But I always love a good storm, so I loved it. Okay, so let me see. Let's go to Banks City Council, October 11. Oh, come here, Paula. There we go. I'm just going to share screen, and I know it's crazy for you guys because I always have a lot going on, but I think I've got these wrapped up. So, okay, on the only thing one thing I would say about overall is if it's in the PowerPoint, if it's in the packet, we don't need to go on and on about it. A lot of in this case, the police report that they did, they have pictures. They talked about this black Dodge and, questions about it, and they kind of went on and on, but all of that was in the packet. But because there were questions about that specifically, I went ahead and just, he highlighted the notable cause, which he always does. And he says something like that, including the burglary at the bank Chevron and Banks, and attempted burglary at the Speedway, blah, 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 and address questions about the burglary. That way we know there's questions answered and asked and answered. A lot of them were just clarifying questions. So, if there were clarifying questions and the case had since been solved, they've gotten the guy, I would have added that, but he just was really regurgitating everything that was in the staff report. And so these briefings and programs can be pretty brief. The other thing is, aside from the mentioned call, so that is my ears perk up going, okay, this is something different. cross-referenced in the agenda and in the meeting packet. There was nothing about the school. He's, school's back in session, so it's kind of recent. And he talks about, the pickup going smoothly. And so that's, yeah, when you hear those kind of words with aside from the mention calls, this is something new, right? So that might be something to kind of cue in on.
Yeah.
What is so weird about banks is because they are literally blocking a state highway because so many people, nobody lets their kids walk to school anymore. So we have like 400 cars parked up into the main freeway to pick up their kids. Now it's like, anyway, we don't have that trouble anymore. Couple other things. The summary, and this is, and I know this is something that we're trying to dial in across all of our boards, especially as we're, prepping the reader for these reports. It's just really important to have this little intro portion accurate to what's actually happening. The original is, okay. The original said that Denise, the director, presented the library report. Well, she didn't really, like, to me, presenting is like she's going through everything in there. And I still would, if she's presenting the report, I wouldn't put the stuff in there that she noted. She did talk about these pictures of the pollinator demonstration garden, which I would not have included, but she went on about it. She expanded that now the plants had been planted and they were scheduled to bring more in, and they were going to plant it after the irrigation system was installed. None of that, those details were in the report, so I defaulted to adding them. And it's important to watch or track, again, what is stated and how the transcriptionist is portraying the materials. So in the original, everything would be purchased for plant material by the weekend. But when I listened to it, almost all the plant material would be purchased by the weekend. Some plants were seasonal and unavailable at this time. So that's different than everything would be purchased. And grammatically it is a little clunky anyway. Then there was a separation with, the community garden is not the same as the pollinator garden. So those are two different things. And there was just enough of a pause in there that I kept them all together as garden and planting areas, but it's the community garden. So it was separate, and knowing that helped make sure that made more
Would have
sense.
helped.
Yeah. And then, let's see. There was a thing about, okay, so in the original, I don't know if you guys, I always do this. I'm not doing you guys any justice when I have this so small. I apologize. She originally had talked about in the original, a single shelf unit was delivered from Dancor for this Kids Refresh project. There had been quality and delivery hardware problems.
Right.
And in lieu of taking a credit, they negotiated for another bookcase. However, the problems were overall. It was more than problems with just that single shelf unit. So that's why I moved the single shelf unit out of, they purchased a single shelf unit with that credit. There were quality and delivery hardware problems throughout the job. Overall, there were problems. So the way it was originally stated, it was like, it was problems with one single shelf unit, so they got a separate one. So that's where it's just getting those nuances and really, I guess, hearing what the subject really is. Some of these people are challenging because there's false starts, and a lot of times that will completely throw you off. But when in doubt, throw in a timestamp with some blue ink, and we can take a look at it. So there were just a few things in here that just really needed clarified as far as that goes. And, we can address any of those at a different time. One of the orange things I wanted to bring up, because this is going to be, well, it's another one. It's the same type of concern, is how things are stated. And I think the transcriptionist just got it backwards. This is the, oh, excuse me. This is the, in yellow here was the original. An emergency response plan had been added with regard to active shooter procedures. Meetings would begin soon. But the active shooter procedures had been added to the emergency response plan. And then those meetings about the active shooter would begin again soon. So those are the kind of little tweaky things that we just really need to have a mindful ear about. The emergency response plan is huge. It encompasses the Cascadia earthquake and landslides and monsoons and the tsunami that's going to hit us from the Pacific Ocean. I mean, everything is in that thing. So active shooter is just a portion of that. And they had talked about this active shooter several times over the last probably 3 months meetings, because City Manager Becker is on that committee, and she's been talking about this emergency response plan. It's already in her city manager's report consistently. And so that's another clue, is like, I'm not quite sure about that. Let me check what's in the staff report. Sometimes that can help better inform how we're transcribing it. So, yeah, lots of stuff there, but any questions or clarifications or anything, any comments as far as what I threw all at you?
No, but you had added on the final copy of that, you had put more in there. Because just as you explained, I didn't know that this thing had been going on for 3 months. I mean, nobody told me that. So, it's kind of hard to adjust on those things. This was the first one that I had tried to edit more, or edit, period. That's not just proofread, but to edit on my own. And as I told you, I said, didn't bother me. I certainly wasn't intimidated by it. You got to get your feet wet and do it.
Right.
But that's another nuance that I didn't know about. So, can't add it. Don't know it, can't add it. And I couldn't find it. So, and then the one about, I got to tell you the one, my favorite one, you put it back in there, and I laughed out loud when I saw it. The guy who's got his panties in a wad about the chocolate, the hot chocolate for the Christmas tree.
Oh, hot chocolate.
I was very diplomatic, I thought, when I wrote that paragraph and redid it. I thought, well, let's not put this in here, because this is open meeting. Anybody can read this, and he really shouldn't be making this comment about the restaurant that didn't do it right because they didn't mix hot chocolate right. Whatever he said in there. So I thought I was being diplomatic, and then I read, you put it back in there, and I said, oh my God, okay, they just insult one another. It doesn't make any difference. But I had to laugh out loud. I really did, because you put it back in there, and I was trying to be very diplomatic about it. Whatever. I've forgotten exactly what it was, but it was about the hot chocolate and the cookies and whatever they do for their little Christmas event. But I did have to laugh, Paula. I really did, because I said, okay, whether you like it or not, you're going to get this back at you. So,
well, and
there was.
Yeah, I think, and I think it, I just said that it did not mix successfully, because I think I was going to okay, anybody who went to last year's is like, I'm not drinking that hot chocolate. They understand the problem. So we weren't putting blame on the restaurant or the old people or the volunteers that didn't know what the heck they were doing. And then it sounded like there was something about that there was only cold water available, like bring hot water, so.
I mean, it was hot chocolate. It's not hard to make.
Right.
For the crowd, but I did have to laugh when you put that back in there. I did.
Yeah.
I did enjoy.
Yeah. And I would just say, as far as that emergency plan thing, I see it more as, just to be mindful of how it's stated. Just because the transcriptionist thinks she knows what she's typing, it doesn't necessarily need to be, it's not necessarily true. So the audio is I knew that wouldn't be right, but the audio was more specific in identifying that active shooter had been added. And what can throw people with City Manager Becker is she does a lot of false starts. And so that could have, propelled it to go that way. But, and as far as active shooter, we've got that added. or the emergency plan has it added now or something. So it's just mostly picking up on those nuances of what is audibly stated.
Yeah,
Because really we are responsible for the audio, but that did come through on that one.
yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So we've got 3 gracious minutes to talk about anything you guys had. I know it's short today, but sometimes we just got to go with it.
Yeah, we're good.
Well, that prompts me to ask then, because you had sent out a message to me last week about the public comments with Westland.
Westland, yeah.
Because Terry Oaks, whatever it is, was speaking out of turn. They granted her the ability to speak out of turn. And so my message back to you was, we can condense the public comments, but in that particular piece, and I realize it's sort of a one-off, it's not going to be a blanket statement. Since she starts accusing everybody of bias on the council,
Yeah.
I figured it was probably best to leave a lot in, because she starts throwing shade at everybody, and then council members are going back and Latowski, whatever his name is, he makes a point of confirming that he does trust Calvert. So there didn't seem to be a lot of places to trim much there, but what you're saying on the other pieces in our notes, that does make sense.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I'll have to look at that, but I think when in doubt, type it out. That's the best way.
No, I agree. And in this case, I could, there was only like 3 public comments elsewhere in the meeting. So those could be, you can see where I struck through on that, or I rewrote a couple of them, and Alice, which you kind of have to condense anyhow, but
Okay.
but no, that made sense. But I think I'll be interested to see your take on that, because like I said, she starts throwing barbs at everybody, and her and the mayor are already apparently not real good buddies. So
It's interesting. They have quite a committee.
it's
Quite
like
a
it's like
council.
it's like Dynasty or something.
It is that, and they have been that way since we've got I think we've had the contract 5 years. And yeah, the whole council was completely overturned, new mayor, new council members, except for, I think, Walters, I don't know, and Relier. Anyway, they go back and yeah, and Letty can laugh because she does South Fork for me and she knows Bielostowski, but I totally jerked up both their names. I couldn't, even the mayor said, poor Paula. I'm like, I am sorry. I totally messed up their names, but I have to practice it like 5 times before I
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, in that particular meeting, the guy that's coming from ODOT said he bungled it up too. So it's a all right, ladies, I do need to jump.
Yep.
So
That's
Paula,
good.
I'll shoot
We
you my
all
notes
do.
real quick. Thank you all. Have a great
Thank you.
evening.
You too.
Right.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a
Bye.
good week, folks. We'll see you
Yep.
next week.
Thank you,
Thanks.
guys.
Take
Appreciate
care.
you being here. Bye.
Bye-bye.